So there you are, you're a blended family, you've got this education, you got this stuff going on. How did you get into the parenting styles aspect of it in particular? And what are some of the things that you observed?
Yeah, so we ourselves walked some challenging times
Very
where
challenging times.
where we had things come up just in our own marriage and the dynamics of the kids and different styles in terms of what we were used to, how we'd grown up. And as we started to coach other blended family couples, we realized that it was a consistent theme in terms of the challenges that blended family couples have. And they're plentiful. We're just focusing on parenting differences, but we realize that there's so many different ways to parent. And
Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship. And today we're focusing on blended families and particularly parenting styles in blended families. Though honestly, if you're in any kind of family situation, this tension between parenting styles is going to come up, does come up, is vital, might be the cause of fights, might be the cause of avoiding fights and just not dealing with parenting situations at all. The more we can talk about it and figure out what each other's strengths are and how to parent together, the better it's going to work. And today we are interviewing Garret and Chelsea Zimmerman, who are partners and coaches. They're like life partners and partners in coaching, and they come from transformed couples. How are you today, Garret and Chelsea?
we're doing very well. Thanks for having us today, Rich.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I just love you guys already. This is going to be wonderful. Yeah. Sometimes you just meet people and you have a feeling about them. It's like
Yeah,
that. So
absolutely.
the question I ask everyone on the front end is, how did your hearts lead you to do the work that you do today?
Great question.
Yeah, awesome question. Honestly, it actually started when we were in a transition period. We had not, I don't even think we were engaged yet.
Yeah.
And we moved into a new house together, and Garrett was just kind of like searching around for something. He believed that he was made for more. And so he actually started. And as he got into it, I couldn't help but be magnetized to what he was learning and what he was doing. And so I jumped right on board. We were given
You,
the
you
opportunity.
faded out for a second there when you said what Garret actually found. What did he find that you jumped into?
So he found the relationship coaching certification
Got it.
program. Yes. And so, yeah, when he was doing his studying, I was like a magnet. I could not help but want to learn what he was learning. And so we dove in together as a husband and wife team. And we realized that, you know what, like your tests eventually become your testimonies. And so for us, we were really able to focus on the blended family aspect of things. And that's kind of what led us here today. We got our certification in 2020, and we've been helping people in all relationships, but primarily blended families ever since.
Sorry for the pause there. So you went into Empowered Couples University and you kind of found this practice together, and you've been working with couples ever since. And also you're a blended family yourselves, aren't you?
We are, yeah. We are a blended family of five. So we have three boys between us, 13, 14, and 15. So they keep us active. And really what, drove the passion that I felt was the desire to help prevent other blended family couples from stumbling over and over and over again with some of the things that we had realized were coming up. That it was these patterns that we wanted to break, and it was a desire to improve and grow and then help teach others so that they could improve the quality of their relationships. That really was the why behind the pursuing of the certification.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So you're in this blended family, you're learning, you're growing, you're getting educated. And what are some of the challenges of having, actually, let me back up like 10 steps. So let me just say for the audience, right? It's all about partnership, right? And like perfect partnerships, people want to have different styles and different strengths, right? because then one person can jump in where the other one's weaker, and the other person can lean into their strengths, and then where there's overlap, you can really have synergy. And even though that's what we all want, like makes rational sense, emotionally, it can feel exactly the opposite. It can feel like, wait a minute, you're making me wrong. Wait a minute, you're undercutting me. When actually what you have is different approaches. So there you are, you're a blended family. You've got this education, you got this stuff going on. How did you get into the parenting styles aspect of it in particular? And what are some of the things that you observed?
Yeah, so we ourselves walked some challenging times
Very
where
challenging times.
where we had things come up just in our own marriage
Mhm.
and the dynamics of the kids and different styles in terms of what we were used to, how we had grown up. And as we started to coach other blended family couples, we realized that it was a consistent theme in terms of the challenges that blended family couples have. And they're plentiful. We're just focusing on parenting differences, but we realize that there's so many different ways to parent. And what happens, even in traditional families, because we are big believers in that your background and how you were raised growing up highly influences how you now show up as a parent.
For
Mhm.
sure.
And everyone's story is different. And it doesn't matter blended or traditional family, but in traditional families, there's less impact and influence from others versus in a blended family because you've got an ex, you've got another, maybe a step grandparent, you've got kids that aren't biologically related to you that bring up additional challenges. And so we started to really listen and learn from each other, our teachers, but also the other couples that we were coaching. And we dug into the different parenting styles, of which there's four. There's primarily four parenting styles: authoritative, dismissive, authoritarian, and uninvolved. And those four
That last
styles,
one, that's my favorite.
uninvolved,
Yeah, it's very easy.
it is very easy,
Very
right?
easy
And
for the parent.
it's so easy for the parent. And we see that in a lot of blended families, unfortunately, where a parent has stepped away completely, be
Well,
it,
can I interrupt you for a second?
no, go ahead.
I think part of the problem in blended families is, right, there are these kids that you were the actual parents to, and then there are these other kids who are telling you, "You're not my mom, you're not my dad," and their mom or their dad, the other parent who's not not in the house with you, is saying the same. You're not the mom and you're not the dad. So it's uninvolved sounds like a really uncaring position, but actually some parents in a blended family, you might actually feel like, oh, I have to be uninvolved because I'm not the parent.
Right.
So I'm sorry,
Yeah.
keep going with that. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say you're exactly right, Rich. One of the things that we learned, unfortunately, painfully, was that it is better sometimes to be uninvolved as a step parent because that biological relationship that exists subconsciously for children, they feel an affinity to their bio parents
Ah,
regardless of what the dynamic is in the relationship is. So I learned the hard way, and admittedly, I overstepped and I tried to get too involved in my stepson's lives to the point that they pushed back.
mm-hmm.
And then I had to internalize that and understand that as it wasn't necessarily me, it was simply the fact that there's what's called loyalty binds between biological
Mm-hmm.
parents, biological kids, and subconsciously they feel an affinity to love their biological parent, regardless of how they've been treated, what's been said to them, what's been done to them, if that parent has stepped out of their life. They feel that loyalty bind. And no matter how hard I wanted to try, the more I tried, the more I got pushback.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to become uninvolved. And essentially, and we say this to each other, I had to step back so that I could actually step into relationship with them, as painful as that was for me.
Oh, tell me more about this. We all understand the stepping back. Once you step back and you be uninvolved, I'm going to interpret as, all right, I'm going to release my expectations on what the relationship should be or what I think they should be based on the fact that I'm the adult and they're the child and the commitment I made to Chelsea and all that other stuff. You sort of, all right, I'm going to let go of all those expectations for a second. then once you kind of got, the good news about uninvolved is you kind of have a clean slate. I mean, if you've let go of the expectations, what comes next? How do you reweave yourself in or start a new relationship?
You know what? There were two things that I needed to do. One was I needed to ask Chelsea, what can I do differently? Because you know these boys better than I do.
Mm,
So I had to ask for her input and humble myself for whatever that response was going to be. And that was a major learning for me because she knows these boys. She's birthed them, she's raised them. And then the second thing I had to do was acknowledge that my responsibility to them looks different as a stepdad than it does as a biological dad. And I almost had to think of myself not as a like a father figure, but more of just a positive role model, a mentor, a friend.
hmm
And when they open the door to connect, when they come to me, when they ask questions of me, that's when I step in.
hmm
But trying to force myself or to get them to do things that they aren't comfortable with or don't want to do, that wasn't effective.
I've heard other people refer to it as maybe a very close uncle or aunt. Very close. So, but only if the children want that, of course.
Yeah. And that was the thing I was just going to add, Rich, is that like Garrett's actually been very good as our kids have gotten older about asking them what they want and how involved they want him to be. And that's bold, in my opinion, because, it allows them the opportunity to like essentially completely reject him if they want to. But because of the fact that they feel like they have some control over the way that they want to be treated by their stepdad, it's actually brought them closer together.
hmm
And because they feel like they have essentially that say. Whereas, before and originally, as Garrett was saying, like he actually pushed too hard and they were like, heck no, we're not interested. So, it does definitely depend, obviously, on the age of the children.
Yeah.
But something else that was really helpful, and I'll just add this super quick, is one of the things that was recommended to us was to do the love languages with our kids. And one of the reasons why it was important is because that allowed us to be able to speak to our own bio kids, but also to our bonus kids, like in their love language. So it was actually
Our bonus
received
kids. I love that.
better. Yeah.
Nice frame. Yeah. So for the audience, if you haven't heard of the love languages, we've done episodes on them. 5 basic love languages. We usually talk about them in terms of couples, but the reality is that everyone's got a love language. I think it's touch, gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, and I'm missing one, probably one that's
Acts of service.
acts of service. Oh, that's my favorite. That drop off. Oh, that's my wife's favorite, actually. That would make sense why I forgot it. So, but and these things are present for people. All 5 of them are present for people. We have 1 or 2 that we really lean into, and the other 3 we might not hear so much. And so, what you're saying is being tuned into how you. And the idea is, if you don't know what people listen as love, then you could be loving them by giving them gifts all day long, and they're just like, I don't even care about gifts. So you think you're showing them love, and they're like, why are you doing this? So you're saying is being tuned to your kids' love language, whatever that love language is, and your bonus kids. I love that. And your bonus kids love instead of steps. So good. It's good. I'm not a step parent. I'm a bonus parent. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
All right. This is good. I'm taking that frame. Yeah. So being aware of their love language is really important. How does it help? Sorry, I needed to give that for the listeners in case they hadn't heard that episode or read that book or whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we want to speak to each other in relationship, in each other's love language to, have a better, more impactful, impact really. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, we actually did this exercise about 2 years ago with our boys. But we, we encourage everybody, if you have, even if you're just in a traditional family, do the love languages tests with your children, because they've got them online for
And
like,
it's free and it's online. Just Google 5 love languages. You will find it like that. And if we can, we'll put it in the meeting notes also.
yeah. So I mean, even for young kids, they've got it. So it doesn't matter what age, but honestly, to do that, it's essentially like you're getting this like insight into how your kids want to receive love. And so to be able to speak from that love language.
This is like relationship gold, folks. So don't dismiss it. It sounds kitschy, but it's not. Like, it won't fix all your communication problems. It won't even fix your communication problems with your kids. But if anyone feels a little more loved, it's always easier to talk to them. Hey, quick question. So you mentioned 4 parenting styles, and we talked about one of them. Tell us more about authoritarian, authoritative, and dismissive, and how they fit in this blending parenting styles in a blended family.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the first one, authoritarian, is somewhat strict, having some high expectations, being driven by obedience. There's consequences for actions, those types of things. The permissive is,
it's like, these are the rules.
yeah,
Break
exactly.
the rules. These are the consequences. I don't care why you did it. These are the rules.
Yeah. Fall in line, do what you're asked. A very almost, yeah, exactly.
Like drill sergeant.
Yeah. Let's say top down, very directive. The permissive is kind of that almost uninvolved, but they're still kind of involved. They know what's going on as parents. They just continue to allow it to happen. There's really no discipline. There's no teaching.
And it might be a little bit of, oh, they'll figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And kind of acting ignorant to it. Oh, whatever. Like, they're just young kids.
It's just heroin, not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whatever. And it's
you have to learn the hard way. I'm not going to do anything about it. They'll just have to learn.
Yeah. And can set the child up for a lot of trouble down the road, because life is guided by boundaries, and so parents have that responsibility. And then the third is authoritative, and authoritative, very strict, but somewhat warm, uses opportunities to teach and provide opportunities for the child to learn. This is actually the most desired, based on the research. This is the most desired parenting style if you can get to this point, because there are boundaries, there are rules. If the child steps outside of that, there's conversations and discussion about what needs to be done, how you could behave differently the next time. So it's more, I guess, involved versus the authoritarian, where they tell, the child just listens, and we see resentment start to grow in that type of dynamic. So those are kind of just some Cole's notes on the other 3.
And in real life, we all have all of these qualities. We can all be any of these things, but we have a tendency to lean into one more than the rest. And so and the other thing is that there may be situations where each style is more appropriate. Like we talked about, when you're the bonus parent and you need to back off a little, that might actually be appropriate. So the question, the last question I want to ask you around this is, so let's say you've got 2 parents who definitely lean into somewhat different areas. There's going to be some overlaps, but they've got strengths in different styles. How does each parent figure out how to apply those styles to the maximum benefit of the children?
Yeah, so I think the first thing would be that in every blended family, we believe that the bio parent should always be primarily parenting their bio children.
Makes sense.
And yeah, so that's number 1. So, think of it that way, because your parenting style is always going to resonate more with your own bio child. Secondly, is that you want to always be on the same page as your partner in regards to your parenting style. Not to say that they should be the same, but the 2 of you need to be communicating very well with one another when it comes to the way that you're parenting the children.
So it sounds like the connection there might be we share the same values and principles, but we might communicate them in different ways.
Exactly. Yeah. So really just being on the same page and having an understanding of where each other are coming from, because again, like to loop back to what Garret was saying, you know, a lot of the time it has to do with how we were raised and how we were taught essentially to parent. So, you know, having a conversation with your partner and asking them about how they were parented as a child will give you a really good, clear understanding of maybe why you are the way that you are. And
Yeah.
it'll also open the conversation if there's any areas that you want to change or develop or become more like your partner in certain areas, then it opens up that conversation.
Wait, we can change?
Yes.
It's possible.
So cool. Got it. So the basis for utilizing our different parenting styles as strengths is, number one, understanding what they are. Number two, operating from shared values and principles. And number three, it sounds like a discussion of how we might apply those situationally. But the prime directive is biological parents have the first and final word on biological children. And because let's face it, a bonus is just a bonus.
Right.
Right? Like, when we buy something, it's the thing that we're buying. The bonus is good, but the thing that we're buying is, and I'm not dismissing the value of the step or bonus parent, but the truth is that when you walk into we did a previous episode on the problem is that when you walk into a blended family, each parent has had a longer relationship with their own children than they've had with the other parent. And so that's naturally going to bring up some competitiveness and conflicts and confusion around priorities. And so that this rule of thumb of, hey, you know what, my kids are my problem, your kids are your problem, I got your back, you got my back, that helps a lot with that particular confusion. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Makes such a big difference.
You guys are terrific, really crystal clear. You're a lovely couple. How can people find you if they want to learn more about you and your programs?
Yeah, thanks so much, Rich. We're on Transformed Couples on Instagram, so you can find us at Transformed Couples. Also on Facebook, our page is Transformed Couples Coaching, and you can reach out to us with a DM, an email. We are teamzimmerman2020@gmail.com, and would love to have people reach out if you got questions or want more information about what we can do for you.
And our website is Transform Couples.
That's right.
Repeat that, please, because you faded just a little.
Transformcouples.com.
Transformcouples.com, and that will be in the meeting notes as well, folks. So if you didn't catch it, don't worry about it. We've got you. The question I ask everyone at the end of the show is, what is the legacy you'd like to leave behind?
For us, it's teaching our kids that regardless of whether a marriage has worked or not, that in any situation, it is possible to have a loving, caring relationship and be good parents, be in love, despite where you've come from. Every family is different, and we want people to acknowledge the fact that not every family is going to look exactly the same. And we want our kids essentially to be able to see that regardless of the fact that things didn't work out between ourselves and their other parent, that we can still teach them how to love and how to care for their children and to build their legacy that way as well.
Got it. Great vision. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, look, thank you so much. This has been priceless.
Thank you so much, Rich.
We look forward to talking to you in the future.
We'll talk to you again.